There we go. Mine says recording on YouTube.
Okay, excellent.
Thank you, Vanessa.
Sure.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This is Mary Lou Woodford, Chair of the Southborough Board of Health. We are having a emergency or last minute, I guess we call it, Board of Health meeting. We only have a few things on the agenda. Nancy Sacco, board members on vacation. However, Dan O'Rourke and myself are present, so we do have a quorum. I just was checking to see if everybody got the revised agenda.
I'm sorry, Mary Lou, we need to.
I have to say they
Correct, the Governor Baker statement.
will do.
Thank
Pursuant
you.
to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Law 30A 518, and the governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Southborough Board of Health will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and or parties with a right and or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the Town of Southborough's website, southboroughtown.com. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to watch or participate in the meeting may do so in the following manner: by finding the meeting at TV, southboroughtown.com, remote meetings. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort is made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technology means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on Southborough's website an audio or video recording, transcript, and or comprehensive record of the proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. Wow, that's a mouthful. Okay, we got our 2 T's done. Revised agenda. Everybody get one?
Yes.
Great.
Yep.
We should be pretty short. We have to make a couple of votes, and we have another motion of a change to the revision. Paul, do you want to give us a quick overview of what we have on the meeting today?
Yep, the 2 items, the items pertaining to the help that we're going to provide for Emily. One is a student nurse intern, and the other is a per diem nurse. And the both will be paid out of either the Board of Health funds, the CARES Act, and any MEMA funds that may come about. Carla McAuliffe was kind enough to, I just got I think Barbara and I both got emails from her this morning on a template, which will help a lot with putting the time down for the student intern nurse. And that's going to help. I don't know what we determined, Mary Lou, on the hourly rate, and maybe Emily can speak to that and you can speak to that, Mary Lou.
Sure.
On the hourly rate for both, and then you can
Well,
take both.
I don't know, do we need to do that in the meeting specifically?
I'm not sure. Maybe it does. Maybe it's just a administrative item.
Yeah, I
That's
think so.
covered in the contract that we drafted for the intern. We are
Okay.
still waiting to receive that back from her. We don't have it yet. So Barbara, I'm going to send that to you again this morning, and you and I can talk about getting that signed offline because it didn't come back from her yet.
I still have it at work.
Okay.
I have the regular one at work, so the real one.
Oh, okay.
And we'll get her in.
So your vote this morning relative to
anyone
that.
gonna be in the office? She could
Say
probably
that
drop it off today. Is anyone in the office?
Well, I'm in there right now, but I don't know how long I'll be
Dennis,
here.
Dennis is
All
there.
right, we'll figure it out offline. That's fine.
So your vote this morning would be just to appoint Natalie as a summer intern for the Board of Health.
Okay. So I would like to make a motion to appoint Natalie as our summer intern.
I second the
Dan?
motion. Yeah, I second.
Great.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dan. And we need to take a vote. So I'd like to take a vote. Dan O'Rourke, what is your vote?
My vote is yes.
And Mary Lou Woodford, my vote is yes. So we have 2 votes and we have good to go.
Great.
And the other one, Paul,
The other is the per
is
diem nurse.
a per diem nurse that will help support Emily, and we need to post that position correctly.
Is that right, Vanessa? That has to be posted?
Yes, it is. So the action we're asking of the Board of Health this morning is to approve posting for a per diem nurse to assist the Board of Health as needed. And I can go ahead and post that this morning if that is the board's intention. It does have to, it would be like a regular recruitment, so we do have to leave it open for 10 days. And I would just be pulling the same advertisement that I used when we hired Emily and making it fit a per diem situation.
Great.
All right.
Dan?
Okay, I'm just going to read it as it is on the agenda then. And that is, I make a motion to post for a per diem nurse to be funded through the CARES Act.
Great. And this is Mary Lou, and I second that. And
Okay.
we take a vote. Dan O'Rourke, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And Mary Lou Woodford, I vote yes. So we will move forward in posting that. Vanessa, if you could do that, that would be great.
Yep.
And then we have one more item, which is we've discussed looking at our public health structure in Southborough in light of coronavirus and sort of the light that's shining on all of the things that public health does and needs to do. And the Department of Public Health, or actually I should say the governor's office, pulled together a special committee to look at that, public health across Massachusetts. We're very unique in Massachusetts in how we conduct public health, and we really don't have a unified system of public health. And the blueprint, which is the recommendations for all municipalities and the public health system in Massachusetts, Paul's holding it up there, came up with a blueprint. And that blueprint has very clear recommendations to look at. And there are various degrees. One is analyzing your current public health status, your staffing, your credentialing, and the types of work that we do. And then the next phase would be to look at how can we implement that and have all of the requirements to provide the 10 essential public health services. So we had talked about maybe bringing an advisory together, but in discussion and in the fact that DPH put out this very comprehensive recommendation, it's more of doing an analysis first and seeing what we need and then coming back to the board. And I'd like to direct Emily Amico to take the lead on this and consult with the board members, consult with Paul, consult with any other experts that she see that will help in that process. And working with maybe the Municipal Nurses Association and Municipal Boards of Health Association to come back to the board. And maybe each month, Emily, you can give us an update on where things are at and each month as we move forward through the year. So I'd like to make a motion to direct Emily to start this initiative.
Second motion.
Great, Dan seconds. And Dan O'Rourke, how do you vote?
Yes.
And Mary Lou Woodford votes yes. Emily, hopefully you're in agreement of all of this still.
Congratulations.
I'm excited and nervous at the same time, but we're
Okay. Well,
excited of the opportunity to, you know, find where the support is needed and find that support. So
And
Right.
I've got your back, Emily.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
we all do. We all do. I mean, we're all in this together, and so you're taking the lead, and, you know, reach out to us for any thoughts, any help, and maybe we can get some of those public health graduate students to help out, which would be,
Yeah, definitely.
so thanks for that.
Thank you.
And then, Paul, you have another, inspection or a waiver that we need?
Yeah, I requesting that the board vote or consider voting to grant to both the agents, meaning in other words, Dennis Costello and myself, to allow for waivers to the Town of Southborough Boards of Health well drilling, well regulations. Those regulations were, not that you can read them here, but they were adopted on December 17th, 1991. And on section 3.1, there are various setback distances for wells to driveways, roadways, barns, anything that could impede the drinking water quality of these wells. One is a setback distance to the property line, which is really, there's no impact, so to speak, on contaminating the well from property line. So we have a request from a client, engineer and developer, who has 4 lots on Middle Road, which have had soil testing and plans submitted, which Dennis has witnessed all the tests. The soils are pretty good, but there's one existing home that's probably currently vacant, but it has a well that's within 5 feet of the border or the boundary for this particular lot. And if the engineer were to reorientate the boundary, even 1 foot difference, he would lose out on the minimum zoning requirements for that adjoining lot. So because they're all owned by this one developer, he can grant an easement, what is called a construction easement, of construction well drilling easement. But what we're requesting is that the board grant the power to waive certain selected setbacks on the part of the agents for the board. You've done this in the past for septic system waivers,
Yeah,
so
we
that we don't
have.
come back to you on Title V code, because almost all the existing homes have problems with setback because the small lots in the town of Southborough, older lots, other types of impediments. And it's a routine sort of thing. Anytime there's a variance to any code, we would bring that before the board. In some cases, some of those variances require a public hearing and notice to abutters. This does not. So what I'm asking is that you take a vote to allow the agents on your behalf to grant these waivers under section 3.1 of your well regulations.
Thanks, Paul.
I have a question.
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah, so if there's a well within that exceeds the setback regulation currently, and you want to waive that, is there some stipulation that says, okay, well, if the property line is actually very close to to a driveway next door, and then, the well is too close, it's too close to the driveway, or it's too close to a barn, even though you want to waive the setback for the property line, but then the other property, there's some other, impediment that could contaminate the well. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, very good question, and I'm glad you brought it up. I was not going to bring that up, but what I was going to put on the request for a vote was conditions upon when would we feel that we're protecting public health and the environment by granting these waivers. And I think you're going to have to allow us to have a certain amount of discretion. And in this case, we wouldn't just grant these waivers willy-nilly, arbitrarily. We would look to see what is the impact in granting these waivers, because like I said, for instance, the property line, it's required in your regulations 10 feet. A driveway, it's 25 feet. Now, for a roadway right away, it's 15 feet. Those were basically put in there to see if in fact, if there was ever to be any contamination from an oil spill or gasoline spill that could get into the well, it could impact it. So granting any kind of a waiver closer to that, we would look to either put in some sort of a barrier, or in some cases, the well is driven or higher than the driveway or whatever it may be. But we would look to put in some sort of a mitigation measure. In this particular case, what I suggested to the engineer, since we're requesting a waiver from 10 feet to 5 feet, that he put on the adjoining lot a easement. Now I drew this out, but it's hard to, if you can, you're gonna have to use your imagination, because I could show you the plan. And what it is he's gonna grant an easement, a construction or well easement on the lot next door, so that in case they ever had to repair this lot, this well, they could do that. They could bring in the rig, because those rigs are quite large. We also looked at that adjoining lot to make sure there was no other potential impacts or impediments to pollute this particular well. There's no barns, there's no driveways next door. There's quite a bit. As a matter of fact, next door there's going to be another well for that lot. We would still always make sure that the wells are 100 feet from the septic system leaching area, which is a Title V code requirement. That's the only requirement in the state Title V code. And we would never ask for any waivers on that. There are instances when that can be done when it's a Title V inspection, but they have to have the water tested and so forth. And it's usually only when the well is so much higher elevation wise than the septic system. But this is not the case. This is clearly, we've looked at all the impacts on this well, and I could foresee none. And I think with granting that easement, that would be recorded in the Register of Deeds office, that would protect the homeowner whoever bought this land with this well, with that 5 foot. Because the developer owns all the lots right now, so that's easy for him to grant the easement.
That sounds
But
good.
that's a good question. So you could put in, if you want to make a motion to something to the effect that the agents must look at other extenuating circumstances before granting any waivers, to make sure that there would be no impact on the well with granting the waiver, or some words to that effect.
I can make that motion, Paul. I'd like to make a motion to allow the Board of Health agents, Paul and or Dennis, to waive setback distances as enumerated in section 3.1 and labeled minimum lateral distances of the Board of Health private well regulation adopted in 12/17/91. And the agents will ensure all safe environmental issues when issuing those waivers.
I second the motion.
Okay, and Dan O'Rourke, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mary Lou Woodford votes yes. We're all in favor to move forward. And, you know, Paul, as usual, you can always, if you have a question or something, always come to the board with that. But I think this will allow you, both of you, to do your work a little more efficiently.
Thank you. It will. In light of the COVID and virtual meetings and so forth. Yeah, normally we would bring something like this before you,
Right,
Also.
exactly.
plans, but
We
I
just
think
need
that's all.
to approve the June 25th meeting minutes.
All right, and that was the,
We were going to approve those in the last meeting, but Nancy hadn't looked at them thoroughly enough.
okay,
So I know I had, and I thought that they were good and accurate, so.
okay, and I have, and I think they look fine.
So it
So
may-
I make a motion to accept the meeting minutes of June, is it 25th
Yes.
meeting?
I second the motion.
Dan O'Rourke, how do you vote?
Oh, yes.
And Mary Lou Woodford votes yes. We are all in favor of those minutes. And then the minutes from the most recent meeting, I haven't seen those. I
No.
wasn't there, so I can't vote on it. So I think we need to wait on Nancy to review those minutes.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
So we'll vote on those minutes at the next meeting.
Okay.
All right.
Good.
Anybody have any other questions or new business or
Mhm.
anything else?
No,
No,
We're good.
Okay, thank you all for jumping on the call so last minute and have a great weekend.
thank
The
you.
meeting meeting is adjourned.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Oh, one recording and stuff. There was potentially another Zoom meeting. Vanessa, there was something flying through our emails with Steve and Mark Corporal and Emily, I think, about a,
The flu
It's like-
clinic planning
Yeah,
meeting.
that's not a Board of Health meeting.
Yeah,
That's
that's not
Oh.
Board of Health.
internal discussion about the logistics of the flu
oh,
clinic.
okay, that's what I thought it might be, but, okay.
Okay.
Is that date? So Emily, you're
It's
included.
Tuesday at 10 a.m. Vanessa sent a link.
Okay,
Okay,
All
all
right.
good.
Have a great weekend.
Thank you, you
Alright.
too.
Have a good weekend
Yeah.
too.
Bye-bye.
thank you. Bye-bye.